I am going to need every bit of this to get through the shenanigans of today. I'm out of Dr. Pepper Zero, so what do we have? Coke Zero. We're just going to roll with it. Not as crispy as the Dr. Pepper Zero, but this will have to do. All right, let's get into it. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Erin Bies. I'm a certified personal trainer and a fitness nutrition specialist, and I spent over 13 years in multi-level marketing companies. Specifically, the last 4 were health and wellness multi-level marketing companies. Now I use that experience, my credentials, and a whole lot of receipts to break down the manipulation, the pseudoscience, and of course, the predatory marketing that companies use to specifically target women. I absolutely cannot stand that. I talk about fitness and nutrition through an evidence-based lens, and I cover the behind-the-scenes behavior of wellness brands that mix health advice with commission-based selling. So if you like science, if you like a little bit of snark and consumer protection, I hope that you stick around. Would love to have you here. Today, we are reacting to an EllieMD video that is being marketed as educational content about menopause, peptides, the nervous system, and longevity. And this one's a lot. Even I was not ready for how aggressively misleading this is. Before we get into the 10 worst moments, and why am I doing the 10 worst moments? This video was far too long. I didn't want to listen to the entire thing. So I have taken the worst moments and we're going to talk about it. I also want to let y'all know that EllieMD is a company that I plan to cover in a much bigger way this year on my channel. This is not going to be the first or the last video that you see this year right here on them, their tactics, and what they're doing and claiming. I've been digging into their leadership, their compensation plan, and how they're pushing peptides under the umbrella of telehealth. So just know that that is coming. This video is going to be the start of a much bigger breakdown. And I think it's also important to mention all the sources are in the description so that you can see exactly where the information is coming from. Okay, first, let's set the stage, shall we? Because context always matters. When I came across this video, I noticed, hey, this person that's speaking looks really familiar. Now, why does she look familiar? Because she's the former CEO of a company called Qyral that I have covered on my channel before. I want to say that was 2024. I'm not for sure, but check the playlist. I'm not exactly sure how to say her first name, so I'm just going to refer to her as Miss Sagari, and hopefully I'm saying that right. She's the CEO of EllieMD. She was also the CEO and co-founder of Qyral. Qyral was a direct sales, anti-aging, and custom skincare company with an MLM-style pay structure. That means enrollment fees, tech fees, commission tiers, bonuses, and independent contractor agreements. In 2024, their leadership situation absolutely exploded. Public court documents show accusations of mismanagement, leadership removal attempts, misuse of funds, and internal conflict that made its way into legal filings. Sagari resigned while simultaneously launching EllieMD, and in early 2025, Qyral was formally dissolved by the court. So, when someone moves from a dissolved MLM into a brand new telehealth and peptide company with a similar compensation structure and, of course, familiar marketing language, that's something that I feel like consumers deserve to be aware of. Now that we have our context, let's talk about their compensation plan because it matters for everything you are about to see. EllieMD has a full compensation plan. Independent brand partners pay an enrollment fee, a monthly tech fee, and earn commissions up to 40%, plus bonuses and volume-based incentives. This is not an affiliate program, contrary to what they want you to believe. This is not a share a link, earn a commission type thing. This is an MLM-style structure layered onto telehealth. Anytime someone is financially incentivized to talk about hormones, peptides, detoxes, or healing protocols, consumers deserve to know that commissions are involved because it shifts the motivation behind the education. Now that we know who's running the show and how the company makes money, let's get into the 10 worst moments of this EllieMD education video. Some clips will be shorter, some will be longer, others, it is what it is. I wanted you to see the claims in their full context on their video.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to EllieMD's live educational series. We are so glad you're joining us today. At EllieMD, we are redefining telehealth by creating a space for meaningful conversations, science-driven insights, and guided support that empowers you to take charge of your health. Today, we're excited to welcome May Bagnell, a functional neurology and mindset coach, an integrative health practitioner who specializes in helping women navigate menopause and midlife with clarity, confidence, and vitality.
What did you just say? A functional neurologist is not a neurologist. Real neurologists are MDs or DOs who complete medical school, residency, and board certification. Functional neurology training probably or more than likely comes from the Carrick Institute, which is continuing education for chiropractors. It is not an accredited medical specialty. And yet here she is on this video positioning herself as an authority on menopause, peptides, hormones, liver function, metabolism, and the nervous system, as we're about to see. This is setting the foundation for misinformation.
May is the creator of Be Well Femme and the co-founder of the internationally recognized Bagnell Brain Center. With over 20 years of experience, her work focuses on powerful connection between the brain, nervous system, metabolism, and hormones. She's known for her compassionate approach and for translating complex neuroscience into practical, life-changing tools for women experiencing burnout, hormonal shifts, and chronic symptoms. May's philosophy centers on the order of operations of things, with healing, where foundational support, nervous system regulation, metabolic balance, and peptides are layered intentionally to create lasting results. May, we're so happy to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
This gets so awkward really quickly. She thanks her like 28 times. I'm exaggerating, but
a fun conversation. I love it. Thank you for being here.
Yes, well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate being here and being part of the EllieMD process too. It's been a game changer for me personally as well as professionally. So,
oh, well, thank you. Thank you for being here. Why don't you share a little about your background? What made you so passionate about women's hormones and helping women navigate these the brain-body connection?
Yeah.
This was the first clip. I want to show you the next clip because it is extremely problematic. So let's watch the next clip together.
Speak to some of the things that I went through before I knew what I know now.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
For sharing your experience, and you've seen it all from childbirth on. So it's beautiful. I mean, that's where the hormones start to shift and change for a lot of women here. So I'm excited to talk about this, but to set the stage when women begin entering midlife, what are some of the earliest signs that they see with changes in their body? What can they expect?
Well, most of us who've already gone through it or are going through it probably are all screaming, say, I don't remember the thing I was about to say. The tip of the tongue experience, right? There's this, all of a sudden, this weight gain that seems to come on out of nowhere. There's the sleepless nights, there's the hot flashes. But the earlier signs, we think menopause just kind of happens. It happens, but it kind of comes in phases, right? And most of them are very subtle. And usually the body knows how to whisper before it screams at us. But we are not very good at listening to those whispers, or we just like, oh, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And so understanding that these changes will happen are good to know and not to be afraid of it. I like to say, for all of us ladies in the room and men too, like understand for your ladies and that you love, menopause is an upgrade. It might sound like, okay, what are you talking about, May? Because people are like, menopause is not an upgrade, but it definitely can be, because if you treat it as such, then you realize you get to design your life around this new normal, because your body's going to go through the hormonal shifts and changes. Yes, can we support that with HRT or bioidenticals? Yes. Can we support that with peptides? Yes. Can we support that with looking at our insulin? Of course. So we can do all of those things now that we have the education. So rather than fearing it, we can embrace it and step into it as a time to up level who we are, how we think of ourselves, and also how we treat our body. So we can move from a Honda SUV to a Maserati.
So biologically and physiologically, what is happening? What is happening during this time of upgrade?
Yeah.
software upgrades happening.
Yes. We want to go positive, right? Let's go positive.
The thing about this that is so odd to me is I get what she's trying to do with empowering people that are going through menopause. I think that that part is positive. The sales pitch that followed it, not so positive. Menopause is a normal biological transition. It doesn't require peptides or detoxes or metabolic resets or nervous system alignment like we are seeing all over social media from all of these MLM companies and wellness grifters as well. This upgrade language is, in my opinion, used to try and soften you up before the pitch. All right, guys, so this next clip is the third clip out of 10 from this video that I feel like was the most problematic. Let's watch it together.
But with that said, so as estrogen becomes depleted, I mean, we touched on this a little bit. You feel bloated or, you start gaining fat in certain parts. But other than that, when it comes to the brain neurology, besides brain fog and forgetfulness, what else can you expect so that a lot of women here who are going through that, they're like, oh, so that's what it is. Okay. Like what else can we begin to expect?
Well, as far as symptoms, you mean like
As far as
changes?
symptoms, that's
Yeah.
correct.
So sleep dysregulation. So whenever the brain is affected, it's the master controller of everything else in our body and system, right? Even the gut. And so what happens in menopause when the brain is dysregulated, I don't even want to say menopause. This is true across the board. When the brain is dysregulated, then the rest of the body is going to be dysregulated in some way, shape, or form, right? So the gut is one of like the systems in the hit list, right? So I like to talk about a systems approach versus a symptoms approach. So it's a bit of a tongue twister, but if we think about the systems of our body versus trying to figure out why we have symptoms only, then we can correlate that to the system, and then we can actively support and nourish the system and do whatever we need to do to support the system. So for the gut, for example, right, the gut will get dysregulated when the brain is dysregulated. So we want to pay closer attention to nourishing foods, and that's going to be different for every person. Right? It could be different for every person. And sometimes with my clients, like we'll go into understanding, do we have some food sensitivities that we need to be mindful of? Do we want to take away, certain food groups just to give the gut a break? And even before that, one of the things that I love to champion is making sure that we can detox the liver and that we have drainage pathways open, right? The lymph system is open. We want to make sure that we do that even before we detox. I mean, I don't know how many of you here have tried to do a detox and then you feel really, really poor during that detox, right? I mean, and it's expected to have some headachy, some tiredness when you're detoxing your liver, surely. But if you were to, prior to, make sure that you're also working with the lymph system and making sure that things are opened up, then your body's going to have easier time detoxifying itself. But one of the first orders of operations, the way I like to call it, is we look at the gut. We look at the liver. And we do the phase 1, phase 2 detoxification of the liver. And then we may do that for like 7 up to 21 days, depending on, what a person needs. And then we'll roll into how are we going to support the gut? And if we've got leaky gut issues and if we've got, bowel dysregulation, we're going to address that. But we could simultaneously address, how we can support someone's sleep at the same time. Because if we're not sleeping well, which happens in menopause, then that dysregulation sets off a whole cascade of other events, right? So it sounds really terrible and sounds really like chaotic, but sometimes that's what the body feels like. That's what's happening in the body internally. And so then we feel like we're chaotic. We feel like, what the heck is happening to me? And all these different symptoms are coming out of nowhere, which of course they're not. So when we begin to kind of take a step back, we can step into menopause with this principle, right? My body is shifting and changing, right? It's not trying to come against me. My body is just simply shifting and changing. So I get to shift and change with my lifestyle approach. A lot of times women will say, and I've caught myself saying this many years ago, I've done nothing different and my body is doing all these crazy things. I've gained 20 pounds and I've done nothing different. And the answer to that is right, because we've done nothing different.
Mhm.
Okay. Detoxing the liver? Absolutely not. Hard pass. Menopause symptoms are caused by hormone fluctuations. Your nervous system is not shutting down, your liver is not failing. This is a perfect example of fear-based language used to justify an expensive protocol through a multi-level marketing company. Nervous system dysregulation is being used everywhere right now because it sounds scientific and it sounds emotionally compelling. It also creates a problem that the influencer or the company, as we're seeing here, can claim to fix with supplements, peptides, and coaching. Notice that little bit of coaching in there. Oh, well, we get to change with our girl. Stop. Oh, menopause is not a nervous system disorder. It does not require regulation through peptide stacks. I want to throw stuff right now, and I'm sure you do too. Can we also talk about the drainage pathways? I don't know if you guys caught that in that last little bit. She mentioned something about having to open your drainage pathways to detox the liver. Your liver, I'm going to say it again, does not need detoxing. Your drainage pathways are not clogged. Your lymphatic system is not stagnant. Harvard, Cleveland Clinic, and the Mayo Clinic are all aligned when it comes to this. The detox myth is one of the most profitable lies in wellness marketing. Detox myths exist because they create an unsolvable problem. We heard her mention detox several times in this clip. You will never be detoxed enough for these people. There will always be a new supplement to try, a new protocol to follow, a new drainage ritual. This is not education. It's priming the people watching it to make purchases with their company. Okay, guys, let's watch this next clip together. I don't even want to spoil it for you guys, but brace yourselves.
For that
Yes.
little tip. Now let's transition and talk about peptides. You mentioned peptides, but actually let's take one step back. Hormones, hormone therapy for individuals, either BHRT, HRTs. Can you touch on, first of all, what are the tests that people can go and request from their doctors today, women? What can they go and request? Because I don't know if I know this topic's generally geared towards women, but there are men here too that also have testosterone imbalances. So, what should we ask for when we go to our doctor? What kind of tests? And then from there, what are some of the hormone therapy options before we talk about peptides?
Yeah, so I'm not so well versed on all the therapy options just because I don't work in that space. But what I would say from a testing perspective is that you really want to know what your full hormone panel, like comprehensive.
I'm sorry, I have to stop this really quickly. She's giving advice for people going through menopause, but she's not well versed in the therapies available. But she claims to be a functional neurologist. What is happening? Is that weird? Am I hearing that? Are y'all hearing that? That just seemed really weird to me.
Panel, like all of your hormones. We're not just want to look at one aspect of your estrogen. We want to look at estradiol. We want to look at all of the things. Progesterone. We'd like to see testosterone levels. And also, it would be really wise to see your thyroid levels because your thyroid hormones, of course, they interplay in this whole process, right? So, looking at all of those things would be really vital, number one. Knowing where you're starting. And then you have some options. The other test that I would also recommend, which is not one that is regularly recommended, and that would be a genetic test. And a genetic test is going to give you an understanding as to how you do, first of all, how you detoxify, which is really important to not only hormones, but everything else you want to do as you want to heal. But also, it'll give you indications to how your hormones play, genetically. So, for example, when I did my genetic test, I learned, and I had already had this suspicion from before, but I learned that my body has more of a tendency towards estrogen toxicity. So if which I did before I knew this, were to do an estradiol cream or an estradiol cream, right, like have now for like the face and everything, if I were to do that, my body does not respond well to it. And it was very obvious in my case because when I applied it to my face ballooned. I got rid of all the little wrinkles that I had, but I was holding on to a lot of water. So in my case, the estrogen just gets pulled in, right? Does not get utilized, it gets stored. I put on more weight when I was using estradiol, so that for me wasn't an option. Once I understood that, then I realized that for me, the better option would be testosterone therapy And so there's different ways to do that. You can do testosterone creams, as we know. You can also do pelleting. And I don't advocate that for everyone, but that is a personal use of mine. I have found that has been, especially with my case genetically, that has worked really well. So it supports those numbers. And then I take things like I eat a lot of cruciferous vegetables. That's really important to keep in mind. Or you can take a DIM product, right? DIM. So all of these things are
What is that? What's a DIM
I
product?
don't ask me to say because I don't know how to say it. It's like
Let's look up how to say that because I know what she's talking about. Hold on. I'm gonna play it for you guys. Hold please.
Diindolylmethane.
Diindolylmethane. That's what she's talking about.
super long word, but DIM. If I can, I'll look for it and I'll
But
put
what
it.
is it? What does it do?
Well, what it does is it helps so that you don't aromatize your testosterone into estrogen, right? And especially for someone like myself, that would be not a good thing for me. And I find that that's often true for a lot of women. So when I have my clients do this genetic test, now we've got not only a
Wait, so she sells the genetic testing too? That's interesting. Let's talk about DIM really quick. It is a compound that your body makes from cruciferous vegetables, as she mentioned. It is not a detoxing agent. Estrogen toxicity is not a medical condition. Aromatization is normal and absolutely essential. Why DIM is pushed in MLM wellness? Well, let's talk about it. DIM is cheap to produce. It's easy to explain in a pseudoscientific way, in my opinion, and it seems to be kind of trendy. But it can also lower estrogen too much, cause headaches, disrupt cycles, and interact with medications. It's pushed because it sells, not because it's clinically validated. I'm sure this person probably sells it too.
Blueprint for her hormones, but she's got the blueprint for her entire genetics for the rest of her life because your genetics don't change. What alters our genetics is our lifestyle, basically, right? Or what alters our genetics, or what turns a switch on to our genetics, that things that we don't want to have expressed, would be our lifestyle. So if we can understand that we're predisposed to certain things, again, being a mindset coach, we're looking at it from, okay, how can I have agency over my health?
A mindset coach, a functional neurologist, and a mindset coach. Two things I didn't think I would hear together on a video here on my channel, but here we are.
Not like have fear over this possibility that could happen in my life, right? So now I want the most agency I can over my health. So understanding these things, I have an opportunity to now make a difference, in my health and also in the health of my clients.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So now let's transition and talk about peptides. You talked a lot about detoxing, the detoxing of the liver. What peptides would you recommend for detoxing the body?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily start with thinking of detoxing.
Okay, so
right?
let's take a step back.
But we would take a step back, right? So in order of operations, we would detox, right? Because even when we do the detox, we're off of supplements, most supplements, so that we can give the liver a rest. And then one of my go-tos, my favorite to go to always, is the BPC 157 and TB.
BPC 157. Why does that sound familiar? BPC 157. I think it's because I've covered that. And I can't remember if it was Make Wellness or if it was Nueva. I think it was Nueva because if I remember correctly, that was done, the studies were done on rodents and hadn't been done on humans, if I remember correctly. Do y'all remember? Let me know in the comments if you do. Let's hear what else she has to say.
500. That combination to me, and we're going to talk about microdosing also, but that combination to me, I feel like is a foundational peptide. There might be some cases where we would start with something else first, but that is foundational. And now we're setting the stage, especially we're talking about women in menopause or in perimenopause. Inflammation is one of those things that it does begin in the body. And so if we're trying to eliminate the inflammation potential, we're going to do that through nutrition, right? We may add some supplementation to that. But now peptides, once we've laid that foundation, the peptides are going to be a game changer because now it's going to take the really good work that we're already doing and it's going to amplify it.
Okay, so she's claiming that BPC 157 is foundational for people's health and essentially for healing, I believe is what she's referring to here. And I don't know if you've watched my Nueva or Make Wellness videos. If not, check them out. I have them in their own playlist. If you have, you know that these peptides are not FDA approved. Almost all the cited research is, like I've already stated, from rodents. The FDA has also issued warnings about these products. These are research chemicals, not foundational healing tools. I feel like peptide scams are the new MLM trend, because peptides are the new wellness gold rush. They sound medical enough to feel legitimate, but live in a regulatory gray zone where wild claims can fly. We have a visitor. Somebody wants to say hi to you guys. Come here, little baby. It's a Luna sighting. Hi, little baby. Hey, honey. What have you been doing? We haven't seen her in a while because she's cold, and so she snuggles. Look at her face. Hi. How you doing? Oh. How you doing? What are you doing? Okay. I have to get back to work, okay? I'm going to purr for the people. She purrs 24/7. Okay, I have to get back to work, but I love you. Nueva, Make Wellness, Vital Health, and now EllieMD use peptides to sell expensive protocols disguised as healthcare. But unapproved peptides carry risk. They're not harmless longevity tools. When you're combining that with a commission plan, I just feel like the harm multiplies, because we don't know what's going to happen with these in the future because they haven't been studied on humans enough, if at all.
And that was my case also. When I started peptides, I kind of was one of those sitting on the sidelines watching everybody do peptides and just see, okay, how is this really going to be? I'm not one of those that jumps into things right away. I tend to kind of stay and really learn about it before I'm ready. But once I did, I was like, man, why didn't I do this 6 months ago? Right? Because 6 months ago, I was really suffering in my body, right? I mean, not 6 months ago from now, but in the time that I started. So it has made a huge difference. The inflammation patterns in my body have all but diminished. Of course, I eat well, I detox regularly, I do all those things, but I really can tell a difference if I didn't do the peptides in my body. So it needed that extra work. So I would say that.
It's interesting, just touching on BPC. I went out with 4 other ladies yesterday, 3 of which had celiac disease, allergies to gluten, wheat, and so forth. And they looked at me, they're like, is there anything I could do? And that's the first thing that came to mind, like fixing the gut microbiome, gut lining, the leaky gut, fixing that is the first place. So I'm glad you bring up.
I'm sorry. I don't think you can say that. I don't think you can make that claim. Why? Because it hasn't been studied on humans, specifically on people with celiacs. What do you mean?
BPC, and we combine ours with TB500, that Wolverine stack that helps with heal and repair. Okay, so that is one of the peptides that you recommend. What else do you have?
Well, then we would go into, depending on the person, we might go into microdosing, the GLP. I've used that myself. I feel like the trizepatide, that has made a big difference also in how my body releases weight. Right now, the caveat, and I know everyone here knows this, and I'm sure you've done a lot of good education, honey, on this too, is that whenever you're on even with microdosing, a GLP, or even the more powerful ones, you want to make sure that you are eating protein and that you are moving your body.
Right? That is true when you are on a GLP-1. It's not just about moving your body, though. You should be lifting weights as well, 2 to 3 times a week. Microdosing GLP-1s is not a medical protocol. There's 0 clinical studies supporting this. Incorrect dosing increases the risk of nutrient deficiencies, dehydration, and muscle loss, especially if you're not eating enough protein and not lifting weights. This is dangerous and it's irresponsible. I cannot believe this.
Right? Because we want to maintain that muscle in our physiology. Because really, muscle is the organ of longevity. As we get older, and we haven't touched on as we move past menopause, right? But I'm always thinking what we're doing now isn't just helping our body now. What we're doing now is helping us when we're 80 and 85 and 90, right?
It's just wild to me that they're talking about peptides and where you're going to be when you're 80 and 90. They don't know, because these peptides haven't been studied on human beings. And that's just so wild to me.
Of course, the copper peptide is, I think, one of my favorites. It is so powerful. And talk about healing. I mean, this is also very beneficial for healing the body. It's not just the beauty peptide, right? But it's amazing for the skin. And what we're seeing on the outside, imagine what it's doing on the inside of our body, right? Because we're getting the external benefit of seeing the skin shift and change, but also internally those things are happening. So those are top three in reference to healing and support for women that I.
Okay, so copper peptides do have cosmetic skin benefits. They do not repair organ systems or heal your insides. For her to say there's thousands of healing mechanisms, that is not science. That is marketing. All right, so let's see what the next clip shows, guys. Brace yourselves.
And for someone who's going through or has issues with energy, a little bit of brain fog, is NAD something that you recommend for them?
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely. I was going to mention that one next. Yeah, so NAD is great. Of course, glutathione is wonderful, master antioxidant of our body. But NAD is a great peptide to include if we're looking for not only longevity, but also for that mitochondrial support, right? So three things that we want to remember. Okay, if you want to write these down, three things that you want to remember that sometimes fail in the body, right? And that would be when we're dealing with insulin resistance, right? You don't have to be diabetic, right? You could be pre-diabetic, or you could even be having numbers with your A1C. You know, you're teetering and you're a little higher on your A1C than you want. You ideally would like that number to be below 5, even cleaner, 4, 3, right? But we have to work to that sometimes. But insulin resistance, we want to monitor, number one. Mitochondrial dysregulation, you're feeling tired all the time. It's hard to stay awake. You get that afternoon slump. And that still happens to me from time to time, but it's usually cyclical, right? Or related to my schedule, right? If my schedule's been really busy and I haven't had the adequate rest that I wanted to have with my sleep architecture the last few nights, right? So we can always point back to where can we do better to get that energy back. So what did I say? Insulin resistant, metabolic dysregulation, and what's the other one that I wanted to tell you? So insulin, mitochondrial, it'll come to me. But there's three areas of,
brain fog, eh? I had to do it, sorry.
Inflammation, we talked about that. So inflammation. So these are the three things that the body will how the body will react when the systems are not regulated. So let's go to regulate the systems, and then those things start to dampen down.
Can you touch on inflammation? Because in the world of aging, longevity, I mean, inflammation is a key term. And let's talk about what inflammation actually does to the body, or those glucose spikes that lead to inflammation throughout the body. But
okay, before we get into the whole glucose conversation, which is going to infuriate a lot of you, let's talk about this NAD research. Or NAD that she suggested people take. Now, NAD research is ongoing, but the FDA has not approved it for menopause. Mitochondrial dysfunction is rare. She will or does mention methylene blue. That's a medication that can become dangerous in the wrong context. This is how supplement misinformation spreads. This is what we're seeing here. Okay, now we're going to get into the glucose conversation. Can't wait.
Can you touch on all of that, the senescence and all of it? If you could touch on inflammation.
That's a whole fun workshop.
Well, let's talk about inflammation.
Let's just say it this way. The body doesn't want to be inflamed. Okay? The body does not want to be inflamed. It becomes a reaction to the other systems not working well, right? So to your point, when insulin is spiking and we're doing this thing, and by the way, if you haven't done this already, it'd be really great to get a continuous glucose monitor. It is a wonderful way to see how your body, how your blood sugar, your insulin behaves throughout the day. How it behaves when you move your body, when you exercise, how it behaves when you eat certain foods. Because we just kind of go about our day, we don't really know unless we feel something, right? Like that energy slump, or we're feeling something else. Unless we feel something, we're just assuming that our blood sugar is okay until the doctor tests us, right? So having the agency, which is what I talk about all the time with my clients, over your own health, you can get a glucose monitor, a continuous glucose monitor, and you can see how your body behaves. And let me tell you, that is the biggest masterclass you're going to get on your body, and especially in this one area that you have complete and utter control over, right? Because you can change the way you eat, you can change the way you move, right? And you don't need someone telling you need a medication to alter that, right? Unless
Oh my God. Okay. CGMs are medical devices intended for people with diabetes. Harvard and Johns Hopkins both warn that using CGMs unnecessarily increases food anxiety and obsessive tracking. CGMs create never-ending data. That data can create anxiety for a lot of people. Anxiety keeps people in coaching programs, which creates recurring revenue, which is what these people want. She wants to maintain these clients. They want these people buying these products and peptides from this company. This is not menopause support. This is a data-driven sales loop. It is disgusting and it is infuriating.
you're in this dire state. But if you're not, it becomes a great wellness tool. So when we have insulin spikes, right, then the body starts to create inflammation patterns. And we don't feel inflammation only in our joints. Like a lot of times people think, well, inflammation's in my joints because I feel it, or in my knees, but you also get inflammation of the gut, right? Your gut gets inflamed, your brain gets inflamed. You can get neuroinflammation, right? And so now we're dealing with this cascade of our inflammation in the system that it's the body's trying to regulate, but we're not helping it by our lifestyle, right? If we're still eating the way we've always eaten and we're not sleeping well and we're not taking care of these things, then those inflammation patterns continue to increase. So when we're taking things like peptides, think of them like text messages to those networks of your body, right? It's like, hey, by the way, you used to know how to do this. Let's get regulated again, right? Let's meet up and let's do this right. And you want to be able to utilize that to your benefit, and understand that it's helping your body in such significant ways. And people say it all the time. They'll feel it before they actually see it on paper, like all their lab numbers. But you'll notice the difference in your body and how it begins to go through that process.
Okay. I've seen what I needed to see. I've had enough. This is wild. This entire video stacked unaccredited credentials, detox myths, peptide misinformation, GLP-1 misuse, cosmetic products marketed as internal healing, and a compensation plan wrapped around it all. That's not education. That's marketing in a lab coat, and I hate it so much. And here's my thing with peptides. If they do or are going to do what they claim, there should be scientific evidence to back it up. It should be studied on humans. It shouldn't be research purposes only. It should be backed up by scientific evidence. And that's the part that scares me, is because they don't know what these are going to do in the future. That scares me. It should scare you too. Okay, I'm gonna calm down for a second. If you guys found this video helpful, please do me a favor, like and subscribe, hype in the comments. If it has a hype feature, some videos do, some don't, you know, send some hype points my way. I would appreciate it. That just helps more people see it. And stay tuned, because I am nowhere near done with EllieMD. This was just a little taste. There's more videos coming. All sources are linked in the video description, so please check them out, share them, protect yourself, and remember, your body is not broken, your liver is not clogged, and if anyone with a commission plan says otherwise, they can go detox their personality instead. Thanks for being here. I'll see you on the next video. Bye, everybody.